All right, good morning, everybody. Maseches Shkolim. I'm not going to tell you what today's daf is, but our plans are to do get to the top of Tes Zayin Amud Aleph, which is still behind. But like I said, Mitzvah Hashem will get there. So we got to the Mishnah on Yud Daled Amud Beis. Yud Daled Amud Beis, I believe, is the Mishnah where we got to. So we'll get straight into it. Arba Chesmas Mikdash. There were 4 times of chesamas, right? Chesem normally is like a signature. There's 4 types of tokens. A chesem, they would hand in these tokens in the mikdash. The kasu balei an egel zachar gedi v'chayta. It would basically you would purchase a token, and then you bring the token to those with the animals, and they would give you the proper tokens, right? So so it said over there, egel is a young cow, right? A calf. Zachar is a male sheep, right? A ram. Gedi is a kid, a goat, right? And v'chayte is a sinner, which is a referring to that of Matzorah, as we'll see in the Gemara. And Ben Azai, Amar Chamisha, they were 5. V'armelis kasuv aleihad, and they were written in Aramaic. Egel, Dachar. So in Aramaic, it says Egel, which is still a calf. Dachar is a ram. Gedi, Chayte dal, v'chayte asher, right? A poor sinner and a wealthy sinner. They bring different karbanos. We'll soon see in the Gemara. Egel meshamish im niskei bakar, gedolah miktanim zachar min nekevos. So when it comes to if you hand in your egel token, right? So that would give you the nisachim for the wine that's required for a bakar for cattle, whether it's old or big, little, male, female. And gedi, if you hand in your gedi, meshamish im niskei hatzon, then you get the nisachim of a tzon of a sheep, which is all the same. And as we'll see in the Gemara, it's all those are identical. Gedolim ketanim zachar min nekevos, whether the young, old, a male or female. Chutz mishel elim, except for a ram which has its own. And ayam mishamish im niskei elim bilvad, and the ram has its own unique nisachim. And chayte mishamish im niskei shalosh behema shamutzar. And the chayte ones, you get the nisachim for the nisachim that are required for the 3 offerings of a mitzorah. And Mishu Mavakish Nasachim, Hoylech La'etzel Yochanan. Whoever needs Nasachim will go to Yochanan. Shebemoina ala chesamas. He was in charge of the tokens, the nice and Lamos, so he would pay for it. He would give him his money. All right, he would give Yochanan the money. Umakav chesem, then you get from him the chesem. Boila Eitzel Achia, and then you go to Achia. Shemona and Nasachim, and he was in charge. He had the actual wines. But nice and chesem, he gave him the token they received from Yochanan. Umakav and Nasachim, and then you get the Nasachim. And the Erev in the evening, Yochanan and Achia would come together. The Achia mitzvahs a chaysamos umekabel connectamos. So Achia will put out this chasamos, Yochanan will pull out the money, and it should match, right? Because they would do it on a daily basis. And however, if it was short, Yochanan will go ahead and pay from his own pocket. If it was short, in other words, there was less money, the amount of tokens that were sold. And if it was extra, there was extra money for whatever reason, more than the amount of tokens that were given out. Because hektish is the upper hand. Somebody who lost their token, you wait till the evening. You have all day. That if he found it, then he would go ahead and give it in. However, nice and low, right? But in other words, if they found kadei chasama, in other words, if they found that basically there was a difference, he lost his token, but let's say there were 20 tokens that were sold, okay, and they had the money for, so only, or when they had the tokens, because those tokens were handed in. So let's say only 20 were handed in, but they had the money for 21 tokens that were purchased. So obviously he lost it, so therefore they would give it to him. However, but if not, then the guy was out of luck because they sold 20 tokens. The 20 tokens were cashed in for the nesachim, and they used to write the date. The same day they would write there was the date of the sale. It was only good for that day. Fine. Zak the Gemara. All right, so he says Benazai chayte dal lama. So Benazai had 5, right? There were 5 types of tokens according to the Tanakama. There were dal chaysmas. So Benazai dal lamas. Because he says the according to him, the poor Matzorah, he would also go ahead and get the oil for the lube for the Matzorah to go ahead and place right upon his right thumb, right in his ear. And however, according to the Rabbanan, that is used with a Gedi token. right? Because and then the eye, he needs the extra lug of oil. So that extra lug of oil, the guy brings from home. So Niskel, Rachel, Bekama. How much are the Nesachim for the Rachel, right? Now, a Rachel is a female sheep, right? It's an older female sheep, right? So, min mad as we said, we learned from over there. It says Gedim shamesh niskate son gedolim ktanim zachar nekevas, right? So it says a gedi, right? A kid, right? They would give it a gedi would basically for the sheep, older, young, male or female. So adarmi niskei rachel can niskei gedi. So therefore, l'chayra, right? This female sheep would be part of the gedi category, right? The gedi category was like the sheep category, right? Not just because remember the other categories were calf, right? It's not a calf, right? The next one was zachar, right? A ram, right? A male sheep, right? And then says gedi, goat. So l'chayra, it's part of the goat. So now we see that the gedi, all the females are all included in gedi. So the pasuk says, "Kachi yasa l'shor ha'echad o la'ayil ha'echad o l'seh bekvasim o be'izim." So the pasuk says this is the amount that is for each shore, each ox, or an aisle, a ram, a seh, right, or a kid, bekvasim, or sheep, or evizim, goats. So l'shor echad lamli. So I say l'shor echad. So now we're going to darshan the pasuk in terms of learning the nisachim for each one. So magi shelo chilek, right, ben niskei egel l'niskei shor, to tell you that there is no difference between a young calf and a large ox, right? Sheyabatin, you could say ben hatzon ton nisachim, ben abakar ton nisachim. The ben hatzon, the child of a sheep, the offspring of a sheep requires nisachim, and the offspring of a bakar is nisachim. Since we see that there is a difference between a young sheep and a ram, right? A ram is different in terms of how many isronim. A ram is different. That's why there's a special token for a ram. So maybe I would also think there's a difference when it comes to the cattle. So maybe it's the difference between the nesachim of a calf and also an ox. So the verse says, to teach you there is no difference between a young bull, a young ox, and an older ox. So why is the ola aisle for a ram? You could say, if we see that by a sheep when it comes to difference between a first year and a second one, maybe there's also a difference between a second and third year. Therefore it says ola aisle means all rams are the same. Once it hits 2 years, all the nesachim are the same. And the sevik kvasim lamanemar. And so as I say, or for sheep, but then you could say, since we find the difference between the nesachim of a keves, right, of a young male, right, and an older male. Maybe I can think there's a difference between young female and an older female when it comes to, young female with an older female when it comes to nesachim. Therefore it says, to teach you that all the sheep are the same. Be'izim lamenamar, or does it say be'izim shaya? But then once again, you can say if we see that there's a difference between the nesachim of a lamb and that of a ram. Remember, they're both older, but one is male, one is a female. Maybe I can say the difference between a young male and an older male. Therefore it says, therefore it teaches you that by all goats, by male goats, it's the same, no difference. One has 3 lugin, so too the other one also has 3 lug. Fine. 2 dots.
Where are we holding?
We're
Where
right.
are we holding?
Tesvav Amud Aleph, like 5 lines above the Mishnah. Right, we just started page. Tesvav.
Thank you.
Right here.
Yeah, got it.
Fine.
Got it.
He got it. All right. It says V'shem Avayim, and they used to write the day on it. They would write the day of the week exactly. So I go I understand if you write Wednesday on it, so the guy will just come back next Wednesday and try and pull shtick, right? So he'll just wait, right? He can use it again. So the Gemara says, no, Shemishar Yikosav Lamb. They used to write the same Mishmar, right? The name of the group, because every week was a different Mishmar that did it. So therefore, you couldn't just wait till the next week, the following Wednesday, to go ahead and bring it because that was written. So I go, Mishmar. Okay, so maybe he'll wait for the next Mishmar. So Shem Hayom, Shem Shabbos, Shem Chodesh, Sheikosaleim. No, they used to write the name of what day of the week, what day of the week it was, and which month. And therefore, therefore, it wouldn't be able to come out to match exactly the day of the week in the group. It would not work out. Fine. Mishnah. Now, here comes a nice Mishnah, nice sugya. So it says, there were two lishkos in the mikdash. Achas lishkas chashayin, right? And one was lishkas chashayin. One was called the private lishka. Right? That was lishkas zakerim. So lishkas chashayim, the private lishka. What was that for? So yirachet nice now chashay. People who feared, who said they were God-fearing people, they were embarrassed. They would go ahead and can give their donations there privately. And poor people who were embarrassed, right? So they would also get their money, collect money from this excuse me, from this private place. Lishkas HaKelim. What about the Lishkas HaKelim? Samisha shehu misnadev kli v'zarek l'seich. A person says, okay, this kli is going to the Bedek Habayis. He brings it to this lishka, to this office, to this chamber for that purpose. And every 30 days, hagizbar paischanaisa the kol kli shematzi b'tzerech Bedek Habayis manichanasa. Every 30 days, they would go through this stuff. Anything that was needed for the purpose of the Beit HaBayis, let's say brooms or spongia or mops, whatever it is, right? They would go ahead and keep those items. However, ashar and imkar, but the other things that were useless, that had no use for it, those would be sold, which made the Beit HaBayis. And the money then was left over for the Beit HaBayis to use for the upkeep of the temple, whether it's paying people or other things that be fixed around the Beit HaBayis. Zok the Gemara. Now comes some good Geshmak Gemaras. Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachman Havi Parnisim. So Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi and Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachman, they used to go ahead and give out money to the poor. Rabbi Chama avoid Rabbi Yoshia Dina. They used to go ahead and give Rabbi Chama the father of Rabbi Yoshia Dina Vayoyev lechorgan. He used to go ahead and give other people privately, so he would collect money from them, and then would go around and give it privately to people, so those people would have to come to them. Zachariah Chasnei the Rabbi Levi. So Zachariah, who was the son of Rabbi Levi, they used to always talk poorly about him. Why? They said about him, he used to go ahead and take money. He didn't need it. He was a wealthy guy, and he still took money from charity. However, they found out when he died that he wasn't taking the money for himself. Rather, he was taking the money and giving it to poor people discreetly. And Rabbi Chanina, he used to go ahead and give out money at night. One time he met this a certain evil spirit, right? A shade in the middle of the night. Like Cain, Alpha, and Rebbe, right? Why are you out here at night? I know he's out giving, tzedakah in privately because it was dark, people wouldn't see. But why are you out at night? You can't, cross someone else's border. You're sussing gvul. This is my territory, right? You can't come in my territory. It's us, right? You can't, someone's business, right? My business is I do business at night. Said this shade, right? This evil spirit. So I doesn't say you should go ahead and give money privately. So I give at night. So the pasuk says it. So therefore, the shade became scared of him and basically went away. And now Rabbi Yaina Asher Naisi Ladal Inksib doesn't say praiseworthy he who gives the poor. El Ashe Maskil Aldal, a person who contemplates and thinks how to go ahead and give the poor. This is like a person who basically sees what's the best way to do the mitzvah so they won't be embarrassed. So what would Rabbi Yonah do when he would see that a poor person, or basically that a person, let's say, had money and he lost his money? He would say to him, Bini, I heard you're going to get pretty soon. You're going to get a big Yerusha, right? Right now you're down in the dumps, but I heard you're going to get a big Yerusha. Go ahead, take the money now. You pay back later. I mean, the said once you go ahead and took the money, then you tell him, by the way, it was a gift. I'm not, you don't have to pay me back, because he knew he really wasn't getting money from other sources. He just wanted to take the money in the first place, but he said, "Oh, I know you're, coming to money, so don't worry." So the guy took the money. And Chia bar Ada Isahavi Savi Biyamani. So he says, Chia said, so there were these Savi, there was older people. Man Dahavi Yayim Lahun Mi Bein Me Shasal at Summit Rabbo Havi in the Sivan. If people go ahead and give the money between Rei Shata, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they would take the money. However, min basar kei lo have nasig amri the shatan gam. But after that, they said we don't need any more money. Our parnasa is good, right? We're giving our parnasa during the year between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. After that, we're not taking any money. Don't worry about it. Nechemia ish shichin pagabu yishami echad. One time Nechemia, the ish shichin used to go ahead and dig pits, I guess for water. That was his job. So Amalei. So he said to the guy, so he said, here, go take, give me a, so he said to him, so I'm going to zachi mi chad tarnagoloso. So this, I guess, poor guy from Yerushalmi said, give me, right, a chicken, right, give me a tarnagol to go ahead and eat. Samarlei, halach tumisa dekupa. Go ahead and take meat, which actually happened to be cheaper. Take cheap. Why you mean such expensive meat, right? This chicken. Take some, cheap meat, right? However, but he took it and he wasn't used to meat. He was used to chicken, and therefore he wasn't given the proper food, and therefore he died, right? And people and Nehemiah was so upset about it. He would say, "Let's go ahead and give it a hesped to the person that Nehemiah murdered, because he basically felt responsible for not giving him afterwards. He's not giving the chicken, which was, I guess, more sensitive to his stomach than the meat." And Nachmish Gamzu, he used to go ahead. He was walking, taking a gift to a Beis Chamav, to the house of his wife, his in-laws, right? So he bumped into a certain mukashin person with boils, right? Very sick in the street. So it says, you have anything with you that you can give me, right? Anything that I can find favor with you or give you. When I return, I'll give you, right? You have my word. So Nachum Gamzu came back. He went to his father's house. He came back. He found this man had died. And he said about this person, right? The eyes that saw you, instead of the hesped, the eyes that saw you that didn't have mercy upon you, let his eyes become blind. He basically was saying about himself, Nachum Gamzu. And right, the hands that did not reach out to you and give you, may those hands be cut off. And also the legs that didn't walk to you, run to you, let those be broken. And then it happened to him. So Nachum Gamzu had all these bad things happen to him because he wanted upon him, because he didn't help this individual. And so Rabbi Kiva went to go ahead and visit him. So he said, Rabbi Kiva says, woe is to me that I've seen in such a condition. So right? Woe is to me if I don't see you in such a position in the future, Rabbi Kiva. So Amarle, Mad Mikolani, why are you cursing me? Said Rabbi Kiva. So Amarle, he said to him, Mad, Yisurin, what? You hate Yisurin, right? Yisurin are HaKadosh Baruch Hu's special gifts. So therefore, your sufferings, is really a special gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Fine. Rabbi Yoshe, Rabbi Debrei Chatzaginora. Right, so Rabbi Yoshe Rabba, that was his name, Rabbi Yoshe Rabba. So he was a teacher, right? I guess the Rabbi so Rabbi Debrei, right? The teacher of his son was a Saginari, right? He was a blind man. So he used to go ahead, and Rabbi Yoshe used to go ahead and show kavod to him by eating with him. He would go every day and eat with this blind man. One time, the blind man wasn't invited because Rabbi Yoshe had other company. So Ramasha said, like the Gabe, so in the evening, Rabbi Yoshe went to go ahead and visit him. Amarle, please don't be angry with me. Begin to have the orchin yomidin. Right? He said, because I had people that come to my house today, and they didn't know that perhaps they didn't know that you were you were blind, and perhaps they wouldn't have given you kavod. And that's the reason why I didn't invite you. I had other companies, so I couldn't invite you because I didn't want you to your honor to be disrespected. So Amarle, said this blind teacher said to Rabbi Yoshe, he says, Ata pais lamad demis chame v'loy chame. Right, you have appeased, right? You made me feel better by not being invited. I thought you didn't like me or whatever. Right, you have appeased, right? He who can be seen but can't see. Din dechame v'loy mischame yikava piusecha. Right, the one who sees but can't be seen, right? He should be mekabel, accept your appeasement. Basically Hashem, right? Hashem can see but can't be seen, right? Blind man's opposite. He can be seen but can't see, right? So So right? That was very clever, right? Where'd you very smart? Where'd you know this? So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, the karate. One time there was a blind man who went to visit the city of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. And Yasif Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov saw this blind man and he said, you know what? I'm going to give this blind man a better seat than me. I'll sit below him. I'll take a worse seat. So what happened? So the people should say, Dilu Dahavi Bay in Arsha Rabba, right? They lo Yasif Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, because why? People are going to say, well, if this blind man wasn't great, right, then Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov wouldn't have given a better seat. So Avdin Le Parnase Diakar. So they treat this person with respect. They gave him a livelihood. They did business with him and all that. Shamalun Mal Hechin. So this blind man didn't know. He said, "What's all this?" So he said to him, "Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Yasif Raminach." Right? Obviously, you're a great man because Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov sat below you. Right? You must be, you must be great if he showed you cover. Right? However, and therefore, this blind man realizing this chesed Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov did. He said a certain bracha on his behalf. He says, "Ata kamate chesed lamad mischame v'loy chame din dechame v'loy mischame yigbol aser chesed." Right? You have done chesed to a person who could be seen but can't see. May he who sees but can't be seen, i.e., Hashem, may he bestow kindness upon you. Fine. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Rabbi Yosha Havi Metalin beIlon Kedisha Delut. One time, Rabbi Chama bar Chanina and Rabbi Yosha. The same Rabbi Yosha, I guess we're walking amongst the Beit Knishtas, the shuls of Lud. So I'm Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Rabbi Yosha. Kama Mamon Shiku Avaisek. Look how much money, right? They put into these shuls, right? You go to the south side, the west side of Chicago. So I'm like, Kama Nefasha Shiku Avasecha Kat, right? Right? Look how many people were lost here, right? But there were no Jews to support for them, for poor people to support and give them so they can go ahead and learn in Torah, right? They put too much money in the physical buildings as opposed to putting it in the people. And Rabbi Avon, Ovid, Elon, Tareh, Rabbi Avon, he made these like fancy gates. The Sudra Rabbah, right, for the Shiva of for the Sudra Rabbah for the base Medrash. And also the Rabbi Man of the Gabi, Rabbi came to him, Amarlei, Chami Mayavarta, right? What did you do? Amarlei, I Vayishkach Yisrael Soseya Vayiben Heicholis. It says that in Jewish people, right, they forgot their Osehu, their maker, and they build Heicholis. They build sanctuaries, right? They build shuls. And Loi Havi B'nei Nosh Tilun Baraisa, right? And I was there. They forgot Hashem. They built buildings. They didn't, but they didn't build people. So in other words, you see over here, it's not a good thing, right? Better to sink money into people than to sink money into these, big, huge, grand buildings. Tani. So we learned finally. So we said over there that the money by the kalim went for the Bedek Habayis, and what could be used was used. Whatever need to be sold was sold. So Kache Hamizbech Hamaitzina Sarei Lahen Mikache Bedek Habayis. However. So the Kachim Mizbech, anything that's needed for Kachim Mizbech, anything that's needed for public sacrifices, if they don't have enough, they can go ahead and take money from the upkeep of the temple, from the Bedek Habayis. However, Ein Kachim Bedek Habayis might in a Kachim Mizbech. However, if Bedek Habayis is short of funds, they can go to the Kachim Mizbech and take money from them. But Tanina, we learned a message. Bedek Habayis Menichanus of Hashanim Karin. With man Neiflin and Bedek Habayis. Our mission says, right? They used to go ahead and sell the kalim that couldn't be used, and the money for that would go to the proceeds would only go to Bedek Habayis, only the Bedek Habayis, and not for the Kachim Mizbeach. So Rabbi Chizkiah, Kinim Asnisa Lalishkas Bedek Habayis. Our mission is only talking about Bedek Habayis. There's a rule that if the Kachim Mizbeach needs money, they can go ahead and take from Bedek Habayis. But our mission was just saying that money goes to the Bedek Habayis, and in general, that money stays with the Bedek Habayis. So Hadron Loch, Perek Elohei.
My name.
Mishnah says, Shaloisha Asar Shayfros. There were 13 chests. They used to go ahead and put the money in. Shaloisha Asar Shulchanos. There were 13 Shulchanos, which we'll explain. And 13 areas they used to go ahead and bow down in the Mikdash. And they would go ahead and bow down in 14 different places. Where was the extra place? By the chamber of the wood. The Dir Eitzim, the Shekain Masaris Biyadim Yavasayan, Shishama Aron Nignas. Because over there, so we'll soon see in the Gemara that according to some, that was the place below this chamber of wood is the place where the Aron is hidden. One time there was a Kohen Gadol that was walking around there. And he saw there was like one of the tiles, the floor tiles, was a little different than the others in this wooden chamber. So by the way, I think I know where the secret, the secret place is. However, he wasn't able to tell him until he passed away. The Yad and therefore they understood. We're not going to go near here. This is the area, the location where the Aron was hidden. Zok the Gemara. Satani Hashavas Halul Kuma Yisavu Tsaras Milamalan Virachovas Milamatim Pnei Ramain. So these were large curved chests that would go up, thin on top, wide on the bottom. So people couldn't go ahead and put money in and take back money out. Once it goes in, then the money is lost. And Tani we learned b'shem Rebbe Eliezer Ha'aron Goloi Manu Bavel. So one opinion holds that the Aron went to go to them to Babel. So Matam, what's the reason? It says Lo Yivasi Davar Amar Hashem. So it says nothing will be left behind when you're taken out to exile. And Ein Davar Elisha Hadibah Shabasaycha. And therefore the word Davar is referring to something which the Aseret Dibros are inside. V'chei Omer, and something it says L'shuvas Hashana Shalach Hamelchim B'Zetzer Vayivu B'Bavla Im Kli Chemdas Beis Hashem. With all the Kli Chemdas were sent up to Babel, and Ezu Kli Chemdas Beis Hashem. What is that? Which is Kli Chemdas Beis Hashem. So Aaron, that's referring to the Aaron. However, Rabbi Huda ben Lakish Aimer ben Makayma Hay Aaron Nignas. No, in its place, Aaron was Nignas Hado Dechsiv. Basically, in its place, the place where the Aaron is by the Kodesh Kodashim, underneath it, because it says over there, Ve'ericha Abadim Ve'yura Rashi Abadim Min HaKodesh Al Pnei Hadvir V'Lo Yera Chutza. So he said, they saw the poles and the Aron where it was, but they couldn't see it from the outside, and therefore it set up there, and it stayed there to this day. So the Gemara says, wait, it says it was seen. It says it was seen over there, then it says it wasn't seen. So how is that? And it was seen but not seen. Right? Like a woman who wears a shirt, you can see that it's a woman, and therefore that was the same way. The Aron, the two poles, right, were that were going into the paroches, were sticking out, and you could tell it was there, but they couldn't see the actual poles. Rabban Amri and Rabban say no. The lishchas dira eitzim hayaron neganos. It was hidden below this lishchas dira eitzim, below this wooden chamber where they had wood underneath there. One time there was a Kohen who was a Balmum. He was over there and he was dealing with the wood because he couldn't do the avodah, so he was dealing with the wood. But and he saw that part of the floor was different than the other ones. So he told his friend, hey, come take a look at this. This tile is different than the other one. And however, he wasn't able to tell him until he passed away. And therefore they understood that that's where the Aron was hidden. And Tani Rabbeisha, he kishla kornos. Some say no, he hit a hammer with it, but yatsa eshu usrafaso. And then he hit it with a hammer, and a fire came up and consumed him, and that's how he died. So Tani Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish Aimer Shnei Aronos hayu b'halchin imisab b'mirah. There were two different rows. Machlokes says there were two Arons or one. Machlokes, right? Shnei Aronos hamalchin yisab b'mirah. Two of the midbar. Echad shahaisa hatar nesuna b'seicha, one which the Torah was placed, but they had the echad shayu shivrei luchos nesuna b'seicha. Another one where the broken pieces of the luchos were placed in there, right? And the one that which the Torah was placed in it, that one was left in the moed, and hadod achsiv, that which says v'aron bris Hashem Moshe lo mashum mekera machana. So it says the Aron did not move from the machana. In other words, that would not go out with them. That would always stay in the Oel Moed. And Zashay Shibre Luchos Nesim B'Seicha, and the one that had the broken pieces of the Shnei Luchos, the ones that were broken, those broken pieces, Haya Nichas V'Yatzi Mayim, that would go out with water, and Pamim Shayim Yisrael, and sometimes would be seen with them when they would go out to war. So there was a traveling one, and there was one that would stay. The traveling one had the Luchos, the one that would stay had the Torah. Some say the second Luchos. Rabban Amri, and the Rabban say no. Aron Echad Haya. Right? Right? No, there was one Aron, and it went out once during the days of Eli, and it was captured by the Plishtim. And Kraim Salah Rabbanan is a positive that is proof of their Rabbanan, because it says Oilana Misha Yatzina Miyad Halakim Hadim Ha'ela. Right? So it says over there, right? Woe is to us, right? The Plishtim said, "Woe is to us to be, to save us from Hashem, because they took the Aron." So it says Mila Yoman, right? It was basically it was something that they came out that was seen that was never been seen before, i.e., the Aron never went out before until this one time. The Plishtim were unfortunate to go ahead and try and capture it, and that's when they suffered greatly. And Krai Maseli Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish. However, there's a brisa or there's a pasuk that supports Yehuda ben Lakish who says that there were two, right? He says, so he said to them, so bring the Aron Elokim. But wasn't it Kriyas Yarim? How could he tell him to bring the Aron if it was in Kriyas Yarim? It must have been there were two of them. So Ma'avdin the Rabbana. So what the Rabbana do with this proof? So Hagisha Eliatzitz. He wasn't saying that bring me the Aron, right? Because the Aron was in the other area. He was in Kriyas Yarim. So what they say, bring me Aron, it's meant to be bring me the tzitz. Bring me the tzitz, and I'll go ahead and use that. And another case, Krai Messiah Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish, also another pasuk of Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish. It says Ha'aron v'Yisrael v'Yehuda Yishim b'Sukkos. It says Aaron and Yisrael and Yehuda, they're all sitting in B'Sukkos. V'lo Aaron b'Tzion. It was in Sion, it was in Yerushalayim, but wasn't over there in Sukkos. How can you see it? It's two different places. It must be two different Aarons. So Ma'avdi the Rabbanan, so the Rabbanan do this with this proof. So the answer is no. It says it's in Sukkos. It means it's in a temporary hut because it's not in the base of Mikdash yet, and therefore that's the reason why they said that. And Mishnignas Ha'aron, when the Aron was hidden, Nignas Imo also lost with it, hidden with it was Shnas Haman by the jar of the man from the midbar. It's like Shem Mishcha and the original Shem Mishcha oil, Umaklo Shel Aaron Prachav Shekedav, and the staff of Aaron, right, with the flowers on it, and the shkedim and the almonds. The arga sheishi plishtim ashal Yisrael, and also the box that was somebody that plishtim to Hashem or to the Jews. And me Ganazu, who was the one who hit it? So Yeshua Ganazu, Yeshua hit it. Kevan Shara Hakasa, since he saw the pasuk says Yelich Hashem Yischaves Malkacha Asher Taki Malacha El Goy Asher Yadate Be'atav Yavasecha. Since it says over there that basically you will go ahead and be captured, right, and everything will go to Babel. So he knew. Aman Ugnazi. He went up and he hit it. And how do you see? That's what it says. That's what he told the Levim and those who understood. The Kedoshim says, Tnus Aaron HaKadosh B'Bayis Asher Bana Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael Ein Lechem Mas B'Kasef. Right? It says, put it there, and you will not have to carry it. And Elohem Im Goluhu Yimachen LaBavel Ein Atem Machzir Oiso Ad L'Makayma. So he says, if it goes with you to Bavel, you'll never be able to go ahead and bring it back. So therefore, bring it here and it won't go anywhere else. So Ella Ata Ivdu as Hashem Elokeichem Vesisho. So therefore it says, now you go ahead and serve him by basically you carried it until now. You will no longer be carrying it. All right, we'll stop here at the two dots. So we're still a little behind, or a lot behind, but once again, goal is to by Tuesday is Yuma. Mitzvah Hashem, we will get there on time, and also the goal is also to be learning together by next week. So, all right, shkach, everybody have a good day. I'll see you. Bye bye.